once again, folks, for inviting me along for a chat. There's no slides here, it's just me mouthing off, so we'll crack straight into it. I'll jump onto that cancellation question that came up earlier, and as Stuart said, I do believe this is a decision for every single business. However, as I go into what I'm going to talk about, flexibility at the customer end is absolutely critical, and I'll come to some data on that in a bit. Just to bring this live and real, in the last 10 days, I've had £15,000 worth of cancellations in my own business. This morning, I had £2,000 worth of cancellations in my own business. Just groups who were, 1 minute they had 12, the next minute they had 8, the next minute they had 6 because of COVID and the Omicron variant has gone through. My own business, we've took a customer-friendly view on this. It's just no questions asked, refund. If it's outbound international where there's a lot more risk, well, then there's insurance and stuff involved. But at the moment, I refunded 2K this morning. So we take a customer-friendly view. We're better just dealing with it there and then rather than having them unhappy customers. So in this quick chat, I'm just going to talk about, I'm going to set the scene in society and the travel scene, the adventure travel scene. And then I'm going to go on to what adventure travel operators can do to maximise what I believe the scene is at the moment. Now, I'm fairly optimistic at the moment, and anybody who's listened to me over the last couple of years, that's a change, because for the last couple of years, I've been fairly pessimistic and been accused of it many, many times. However, as we all found out, this went on a lot longer than many people were saying, whereas I was saying it was going to go on a long. And I'm not saying now it's over, because I think this is with us for 5 to 10 years. But I do think the government's reactions to it are going to change over time. So I'm fairly optimistic, especially for adventure tourism. So I'm just going to give the reasons, first of all, for that optimism before I go on to what adventure tour operators can do about it. So the number one reason I'm hugely optimistic is money. And that might sound a bit commercial and all that, but there is more money floating about at the moment than there has ever been in history. The UK has 1.7 trillion in excess savings in the population's bank accounts. 1.7 trillion. A trillion is a huge number that I can't even figure out. I sort of know what a billion is. A trillion is lots of them. So it's a huge amount of money sitting in UK customers' bank accounts. If we jump over to America, they're at something like 4 trillion. Europe's similar. So there's more money floating about at the moment looking for a home than there ever been in history. Now, I'm not going to say that's all coming into travel, but some of that money will find its way into adventure travel. So there's an economic recovery coming. The economy is going to go up, wages are going to go up, and people have got more savings than they've ever had. Simple. That's going to go into travel, lots of it. So that's the first reason I'm really optimistic. The next reason I'm optimistic is price. Prices of what we retail and sell and get people to experience are going up, and they have to go up. Now, the reason they have to go up is pre-pandemic, the adventure travel industry were all underselling what we do. Right? There wasn't that many adventure travel operators running a business and making that much money. They were having a great time, but they weren't making that much money because the product was underpriced for the costs that went into delivering the product. Now, at the moment, every single operator's costs have gone up significantly, and they're going to continue to go up because fuel's going up, energy's going up, and critically staff is going up. So you have to get the price up in your product. Now, the good thing here is customers have proven that they're willing to pay a higher price. They're looking for value and they're willing to pay a higher price. That's not my opinion. There's lots and lots of data over the last 2 years during COVID. Customers will pay a higher price. So I'm optimistic because there's money around and price has gone up, which allows operators to make a decent living and a decent return, pay their staff correctly. The other reason I'm optimistic is customer needs. Now, the number one customer need at the moment, and is probably going to continue to be, is flexibility. Now, as an adventure tour operator, the one thing adventure operators are is adaptable, flexible, and compatible with their environment. So if customers need flexibility, you as an adventure tourism operator should be able to offer that flexibility. And that's the customers, again, borne out by data, more than price. The customer is interested in flexibility of the booking. What's your terms and conditions, cancellations, all of that stuff. And flexibility should be second nature to a venture tour operator. So that gives me, again, confidence over other sections of travel. Adventure tour operators should be able to deal with this better than other sections of travel. Next reason it makes me optimistic: work from home, work from anywhere. This isn't a trend. This is a structural society change, right? Everybody isn't going back to the office and working in offices. Some will, obviously, but it's a structural change at scale. When I say scale, we're talking hundreds of millions of people are going to be working in a different way. Now, if you're aware of that, you can create products to attract these people to do what you offer in the adventure world in different ways. If someone's working from home, they're probably got more flexibility over their time and where they're spending it. So a 2-day weekend can become a 3-day weekend. A 3-day weekend can become a 4-day weekend. People who are stuck in the house all the time working from home are looking for ways to get outside. And the vast majority of adventure operators operate outside. So the more people are stuck inside in their homes, they're going to want outside. So this work from home, work from anywhere trend, which is global and scaled, is a huge off the scale opportunity if you tailor products for it. The other reason I'm optimistic is demand. Now, I'm not going to quote surveys saying demand's off the charts. Demand for travel throughout, since ever we started traveling, has always exceeded supply. Demand for travel is huge. It all came down to money availability versus demand. We've already discussed there's lots of money now. Demand is a given, it's huge. It's going to grow. Only 5% of Indians have a passport. Only 10% of Chinese have got a passport, right? Demand for the travel experience is going to go off the scale. Demand for adventure travel is going to grow as well. We're going to have a bumpy 2022, maybe a bumpy 2023, but demand is a given. It's there. The bigger issue going forward is how we're going to manage that demand, not the fact that there isn't any demand. Now, within that demand, we're going to see some destinations certainly benefit, some products benefit, other destinations not benefit. So in 2021, anything that was outdoors benefited hugely. Water experiences benefited hugely over others. All of this is winners and losers that you can't do anything about. If you were a safari operator, you didn't do well, right? People couldn't get to your destination. So the demand is going to be broken and not exactly fair across the world. That leads me on to the next reason I'm optimistic: local tourism. So, and it's not just local tourism. There is a global trend towards localism again. We've went through 30 years of outsourcing and everything, moving all our manufacturing to China. As everybody's experienced, if you've been to the supermarket, if you've ordered a product, supply chains are broken. So society is looking at ways to bring lots of stuff back local so they can have more control of it. Within the tourism space, that means more people are willing to experience tourism on a local environment before they rush off and get a plane. At the moment, it's just too awkward getting on and off planes for a lot of people, which booms local tourism. Going forward, I expect everybody to go back to international travel, but not overnight. It will take another 3, 4, 5 years, probably 5 onwards, for flights to get back to the same number of flights in 2019. That is a huge opportunity for venture travel operators to tap in local tourism. The UK is especially lucky in this because we have 70 million people in the UK. It's a tiny little island. And as I've just said, they've all got 1.7 trillion sitting in their bank accounts. The other reason I'm excited about adventure travel going forward is digital experiences. And you might be thinking, what the hell's digital got to do with venture travel? As you've seen in one of the earlier presentations, the Amazon, there's a lot of experiences becoming digitalized. Now, you don't view that, you shouldn't be viewing this as competition. You should be viewing this as a way to get your customers engaged with your outside real experience prior to them coming, or because they can't come at that particular time. So this world of digital experiences can greatly increase your awareness of your business. So, for example, if you're a small niche operator, one man and his dog running a kayak expedition in the north of Scotland, and you're fill rate is 1 to 8. You can only take 8 people. You could have been broadcasting to 500 people before that. So what you're saying, well, what does that matter? If you're broadcasting constantly to 500, your groups of 8 for the 30 weeks you're doing it are full, because there's more demand than what you can supply. So adventure operators are going to have to learn to get involved in digital experiences, because it will fill their real experiences. The other reason for optimism is supply. Now, this is a bad one. Why am I optimistic about supply? Well, the simple fact is supply is reduced. Right? There's people going out of business, not so much in Scotland, because we got help in Scotland. And you may argue whether it was good, bad, or indifferent, but lots of operators out around the world, believe me, have gone out of business. Lots. So supply is down. Demand is back. Demand, particularly for outdoors, is back and going to come back in a big wave, like I'm saying. So supply to demand is going to be mismatched at certain points. What do you do when supply to demand is not mismatched? You put your prices up, like I said earlier. So this supply will take years to build, but it will rebuild. New people are already coming into the industry. They see opportunities, and it will rebuild. So supply at the moment, unfortunately, because of the people who went out of business, and sorry for them, has given the people who have managed to last this long an opportunity to capture more market share. This next one, why I'm optimistic. Now, there's data. It's from an organisation called Arrival. It does lots of surveys all around the world on not just adventure tourism, but all sorts of tours. So anything that involves tours, city tours as well as adventure tours. In 2021, or go back to 2019, 30% of travellers took a tour. If somebody went to Edinburgh, the phone over from America, come to Edinburgh, 30% would take a tour, a paid tour with a guide. During 2021, that went to 70%. Now, obviously, there wasn't the same global number of people travelling. People were travelling more locally, but we moved from 30% of travellers taking a tour to 70%. Now, why does that excite me? Apart from the obvious, it's 40% up. Well, when you're collecting data and when you're doing research, people like me get excited when we see changes 3 to 4%. We think that is a huge change and a trend happening, 3 to 4%. So in a year when you got a swing of 40%, that is just, it's never happened before. It's never happened at that scale. So that is really, really exciting, because that backs up the fact that when people are traveling, they've got the money and they want to do something and experiencing something different, and they're going to spend the money to do it, which is a huge opportunity for operators. Just a warning before I go on, and that's just to set the environment as I see it at the moment for adventure travel. And I'm about to go on to what operators should do to capture that. But just a warning before we go into this. The pandemic is just a warning shot across all of the travel industry, including adventure travel. The environmental issues we've got coming are a bigger challenge than the pandemic by a big, big way, right? Now, the travel industry and society as a whole are doing nothing about it. Ignore everything you're reading and all the stuff and all the good stuff, and it is all good, but it's not scratching the surface. So if you aren't planning for disaster going forward, you'll be slapped in the face with another disaster, because there's some coming. May not be next year, may not be the year after, but there's bad news in the post due to the environment. And unless society as a whole gets a grip of it, leadership, etc., we're going to have to deal with this as a travel industry. And I think regulation's coming the way of the travel industry in many ways, especially travel, higher prices going into airports, airlines, stuff like that. So the pandemic should be a learning lesson for something much, much bigger that we're going to have to deal with going forward. So let's move on. What should an adventure tour operator in Scotland be doing to capture this massive opportunity that I see and I'm so optimistic about? First and foremost, the actual experience. The actual experience you deliver to people out on the ground, be it on a mountain, be it on a river, whatever it is you're doing, has got to be your focus. And that experience has to be the best possible experience for the customers. Customers will pay the higher price that we were talking about earlier, but increasingly they're expecting more value, a deeper experience for that increased price. So the experience is first and foremost. However, I've done a lot of adventure experiences around a lot of countries, right? Well over 100 countries around the world. We as an industry, on the whole, deliver really good experiences. Again, not just my opinion, data from TripAdvisor, and if you do reviews of what we do versus other sectors of the travel industry, we always score about 15 to 20 points higher. So what we deliver is normally really good. Therefore, if you're in a market where everybody's delivering really good experiences, that is the entry point to being a player in that market. You're not going to be the best player or the biggest if you want to grow your business just by delivering brilliant experiences. That is the given to get into the game. You have to do that. That is what you have to do. A brilliant experience lets you into the game. The next point that I want operators to think about is your competition. And time again, when I'm working with operators and speaking to operators, they think their competition is other operators who do similar things or other operators in a similar space. That's not your competition. Your competition is entertainment, full stop. And what's involved in entertainment? Everything, rugby, football, increasingly online experiences, gaming, people spending their time online. You have to convince your customers why they should do your adventure experience rather than going to watch Scotland play Wales at rugby, or rather than go to a football match, or rather to spend 2 hours with their mates in 4 different countries playing online gaming. Right? So your competition isn't the guy down the road. You should be working with the guy down the road. Right? Your competition is entertainment. Trends. There's other trends happening in the travel industry that are totally suited for adventure tour operators to work with and capture a bigger market and a newer market share. So some of the trends in the travel industry at the moment, developing fast, are currently, I can't even say it, food trends, food tours, everything to do with food and drink is massively fast growing in travel. It's very easy to combine an adventure product with a food and drink product. Right? It attracts a bigger audience, opens up a new audience. Wellness, massive industry, absolutely huge, booming again, going to boom even more coming out of the pandemic because everybody's got mental health issues or been locked down. So they're all way trying to get their body in tune with spirits or whatever it is they do. The wellness industry and adventure travel are bedmates. They can go together and you can attract a bigger market by opening up to your customers these new packaged products. Purpose travel. What is purpose travel? When you do an adventure product, say you're taking people trekking, can you do something that is purposeful as well as just the trek? Can you plant trees? Can you mend the bothy? Can you fix a bridge? Can you engage with a local remote village and help them do something? So purposeful travel. All of these growing trends are not exclusive from adventure travel. They should be combined with adventure travel to give the customer a better experience. Why? Because the customer is going to pay you more money, but they do expect better value. And this is one way of going to give them better value. Next thing, all operators, and you know I'm going to say this, technology. The tour operators and adventure tour operators, backed up by data again, not just my opinion, experience, are historically weak at technology. They haven't adopted technology as quick as other sectors of the travel industry. You've got to, if you're going to scale your business and grow your business, you've got to get technology into your business. Within the adventure travel industry, the sector that is particularly bad with technology adoption is multi-day adventure tourism operators. Day tourism operators tend to have got reservation systems, etc. now, but multi-day are particularly poor at putting technology into their business. Technology is not there to confuse your business. It's there to grow your business, make your business more efficient and help you and allow you to stay doing what you want to do, guiding clients when it looks after the other stuff you've got to do. Other thing that operators are really going to have to pay attention to is the booking window. You've had some data earlier, that booking window got shortened. It's not going to go back the way. As we come out of this, it's not going to go back and suddenly the booking windows are long. Customers are now used to having short booking windows. The shorter you can make your booking window, the more business you're going to capture. It's as simple as that. And there's always going to be some customers want to book well in advance. That's fine. That's great. We all want that. But you've got to get your business processes in a way that you can accept short-term bookings, because that's what customers are looking for. Terms and conditions, it was mentioned before, cancellations. Every business has to take their own view in this. This is something that the owners of the business have to do. I've been through this with my own businesses upside down, inside out. I took a very customer friendly view. We have very, very customer friendly conditions. What does that do in effect? Well, if I take the experience of 2021, 2020 and 2021, when we introduced them, the demand exceeded what we could supply. So we had more customers than we could supply. So because of the flexibility, it wasn't to do with price because all the prices were up. It was to do with flexibility on the conditions. But every business has to take its own decision on that. Digital footprint. This is again where adventure tour operators tend to be weak, and I understand why. But you've got to develop a digital footprint. Now, you're probably saying, what the hell is a digital footprint? Everything digital, your website, social media, distribution of your products to the OTAs, blogs, photography, media. You've got to sit down and actually write out a strategy for this stuff and come up with a way that is going to be implemented over the next 3 months, then the next 3 months, then the next 3 months. Now, what I see time and time again is operators doing a little bit, then leaving it for 6 months, then doing a little bit. The digital world doesn't work like that anymore, I'm afraid. This is like an ultra marathon. If you want to grow your digital footprint, you have to work on it every day. Simple as that. Little bit every day. And it's not, you're never going to finish this ultra marathon. It never, ever goes away. But if you're wanting to scale your business and get more customers, or take your, even if you're not wanting more customers and you have enough and you want to take it up the value chain, you just have to increase your digital footprint. The bigger your digital footprint, the more customers you're going to get, and the more resilience are going to be in your business. And the cheaper it's going to be to acquire the cost of the customers. The cost of acquiring a customer can be expensive. The bigger your digital footprint is, the cheaper it is. So you've got to get this. Basically, you've got to put as much work into your digital footprint now as you do putting into your experiences. Very, very difficult for many operators. I appreciate that, but it is where we are in the world of online. One thing operators will have to do is learn from this pandemic. The operators who have survived, well done, first of all. Excellent that you've got this far, but there's a lot of lessons being learned. People have got to make their businesses more resilient. I've spoke to operator after operator after operator who didn't have a resilient business. They had a business that was fine when they had the customers coming in, but the minute there was a customer draw, it didn't take a complete wipeout to take them out of business. It only took a drop of 20 to 30%. You've got to get a balanced distribution. So direct customers, more customers, direct customers, indirect customers coming through channels. You've got to get a balance between local customers and international customers. If you're exposed to just one, you're at high risk, right? It's very hard to pivot a business that was 100% international to local. It's very hard to pivot a business that's focused 100% local to international. So you've got to try and get some balance in your business with your customer base. And then within your customer base, you've got to try and balance that up so it's not just exposed to one certain group. At the moment, it's really difficult to get corporate groups to come out and do stuff at the moment because their bosses are not allowing them to mix and they're not signing it off. So if you're overexposed to corporate at the moment, it's really difficult. So balance in your business, learn from the pandemic, get your business more balanced to deal with the future, because no doubt there's more disruption coming. And basically you're planning for the next disaster. Just on a Scotland perspective, it seems to be about 10 yearly. I was around in the mad cow disease, 2001, 2002, 2008, financial crash, took out loads of businesses, and we've now got the pandemic. There's always something in travel. Travel's a high risk business. So there's always something that's disrupting us. So as operators, you have to try and build a resilient business and get a balanced business. Something a lot of operators didn't have, and it seems a simple one. They didn't have any reserves. They had no cash. So it took 6 weeks to 8 weeks, and they were done because there was no cash to keep the business going. And they were totally reliant on, is the government going to step in or not? That's not a way to run a business. You've got to have funds developed to give you some resiliency when it goes wrong. So in summary then, 2022, we're still going to be in some rough waters. This isn't, again, although I'm very optimistic about adventure travel, there's still rough waters coming. People are going to have to deal with cancellations, stuff like that. There's still rough waters, and no one can predict what the government reaction to this virus is going to be. However, adventure tourism is going to boom. Right? We're in a position where supply is probably not going to meet demand when it clicks in at some point. It won't be evenly spread globally. Some countries will do better than others. Some products will do better than others. But adventure tourism is going to boom as the economic recovery cut kicks in, and as that 1.7 trillion from UK guests and the rest of the world starts releasing. People who have suffered in the pandemic, not because of financial suffering, but just the way that their lives have been disrupted, society as a whole has come to realize that life is for living. People are realizing that they're here for an exceedingly short time on this blue planet. Life is for living, and I've never seen a time where so many people are willing to do stuff that they weren't before. They're willing to dedicate more time than they were before. And adventure tourism as a product and as an industry is perfectly set up to deliver on people's dreams that they want to do. And the demand for that is there with the money to do it. So in summary, the adventure tourism position, to me, working across multiple travel sectors, I think adventure tourism is in the best position for everybody, any sector coming into this recovery. Thanks.
Brilliant, Peter. Absolutely brilliant. Thanks for that. And having listed a few, I'm glad to see you're on the optimism curve. But some really great points, and I think the two that really stand out for me and for Fergus and I working with adventure tourism businesses over the past 18 months, 2 years, is very much this fact about price and quality. And a lot of the time we are scared to charge what we think we're worth. And I think that changed the dynamic of the consumer marketplace. We've got to take the brave pill, and you've actually got to make sure you deliver that quality with the value added quality. And that's coming again and again in the outdoor tourism strategy. Has anyone got any questions? Fergus, any questions for Peter there? Or
just lots of fantastic feedback, excellent insights, motivational, people feeling positive. So thanks again, Peter, for your intelligent insight and enthusiasm.
Just a quick one on that price thing. I think it was number 5 or 6. So historically, price is always rated number 1 or number 2 on every single survey customers have ever been done. It's now down to number 5 or 6. So it's not even a slight change on price. It is dramatic, the change on price that customers are willing to pay. And we just have to, it's not saying that adventure tourism is suddenly going to become a high margin, high profitable business, because all your inputs are going up dramatically. So you're going to have to charge much higher prices just to stand still because your inputs have gone up.
That was a really good point, Peter. We've got a template which we're happy to share, which is about a pricing strategy, simple one-pager. Sort of a bottom up. What do you need to make from your business or make from your from experience, and actually making sure that you can include all your costs, so you get up to the price point you think you should be charging. And if we think on it and compare ourselves to an Iceland, to a Norway, to a Switzerland, who are hugely more expensive than we are, and I think, but from Peter's point as well, we need to up our quality. Fortunately, the guys on this program are delivering quality. We just need to make sure that spreads across the whole of Scotland, that Scotland is seen to be a really spectacular and outstanding destination to come to for adventure tourism.
Yeah, there's some questions there, the evidence of people wanting to play more stuff. If I take my own business, we had 0 international customers up until September, October. And normally we have 30-40% of our volumes international customers. And there was always this thing in the industry, international pay more than locals. So we dramatically increased the prices, targeted the southeast of England, and I had locals paying higher than the international customers. Right? So the market is there with money. Right? It's an unwillingness of operators to charge the right amount. Right? I kept increasing my prices on a weekly basis. Right? We didn't find the top that people weren't to pay. The demand was exceeding the supply, therefore price is not an issue. Locals will pay a higher price as well as international. But I must emphasize value. The last thing you want to do is charge too much and then they go away and say your product was rubbish or they didn't have a good experience. It has to be value. So you have to make sure the value matches it, but people will pay a higher price.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Unless there's any questions, Peter, again, appreciate your time. Really, you know, some great insights. And there are some, there's some great interviews with Peter out on the web there. You've just done a recent one with Steve, is it Steve Mitchell? Or
yeah, well, Steve Martinez from, that's a technology company that basically it's a channel manager, and channel manager takes your product and distributes it to hundreds of resellers to sell your product for you.
But there's also some other great interviews from Peter out there through his Focusrite and stuff like that. So if you've got the time, have a look there. So go from there. Right, we're running over schedule. So Fergus, we'll go over to you now, but we'll do it just quite short and sharp so everyone can get on their way. Peter, again, thanks. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks very much.